to everybody that I know and don't know. I'm Boaz Hepner. I've grown up, born and raised in Los Angeles. So does my wife, Addie. I work in a hospital in Santa Monica in St. John's, a Catholic hospital. Um, People always assume I work at Cedar Sinai, which is near me and where I was born, which is Jewish. And I actually wrote an article that went viral, pun intended, and it went viral. And it was about comparing what happened during COVID to what was happening right now, 2 weeks after October 7th, I think I wrote it. And what it was about social media algorithms and echo chambers and confirmation bias.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is I realized it was the same problem. It was the flip side of the same coin, is what I would say. So you had during the pandemic, you had people getting into echo chambers about what they would see with that information would be extremely different if you were on the left versus the right. And then you would be like, "What? How can you feel that way?" And the other person would say, "How could you feel that way?" And the first person would say, "Aren't you seeing this?" And the other person would say, "Aren't you seeing this? You think you're seeing what other people are seeing because you're on planet Earth. You're looking at Facebook, you're seeing people who are strangers, but so are these other people on planet Earth, and they're seeing these strangers. Isn't my feed the same as your feed?" The answer is no. Our feeds are entirely different. You can be somebody who believes the Earth is flat, and everybody else could be saying, "Are you out of your effing mind? The Earth isn't flat." The other people say, "What are you talking about? That's all I see." But I looked and I looked and I looked and I looked, and I found nobody doing what my idea was. And my idea was, what if I were to change people's algorithms? There is a gray area, but with social media and unfortunately with the media these days, because there's not much of a distinction anymore, because most media now works through social media. They're not really newspapers anymore. So how media now functions the same way. So let's just call it all media. Media now functions by echo chambers. That's what it is. As a COVID educator, the people who were anti-vax, I would tell them all the reasons why they were right to be scared. And I would tell them all the things that they're reading that are true. All the people who were pro-vax, I would also tell them things they should be aware of. Both sides I try to validate because there is a gray. So with this, what am I doing? At first, what I did was I created this section called Chosen Links by Boaz. Literally, I would find articles and videos, even sometimes just people that were influencers that you should follow. And I would literally create a digest. It was about 15,000 words each week that I would write, which is an enormously long thing. By the end, I was doing this every week from late October through early April. I think my last one was around Pesach time, Passover. Every single week, without fail, I released a digest where I had an entire section of videos you should watch, entire section of articles you should read, and a section for things that you should do that are charitable and so on, right? And then ultimately, what was happening is I did a thought experiment with week one, and I said, "Hey, I want everybody to click on these links. If you have time, read them and watch them. If you don't have time, then at least click on them and scroll, right? Trick your algorithm, scroll." So my rule became everybody has to be pro-Israel. They have to proudly call themselves a Zionist. Even if they're very critical of the Israeli government, that's fine. Most Israelis are critical of the Israeli government. Um, and you have to be pro-America, capitalism. Most Americans criticize our own governments depending on who's in power, right? But we're not burning flags. So you're pro-democracy, pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, and pro-dialogue. After a number of months of doing this, I was sharing information from all of these people, tons and tons of journalists and so on. They'd be like, "Do you need me for something?" I said, "No. I just want you to be aware that I'm sharing your information for this reason." My feed became this amazing quality feed where I was like getting text messages and DMs from incredible, incredible people all over the place, fixing people's algorithms and making them less ignorant about Israel and anti-Semitism in the process. They started to say to me, "Hey, do you want to interview me?" Managers who would say, "Hey, do you want to interview my person?" And I said, "No." They were surprised. "Why not?" And I said, "I don't have time. I'm not paid for this. This isn't what I do. I'm a nurse. I have a wife and two kids. I cannot do this 24/7. And interviews take a very long time." wait a minute, what if I can do what I'm already doing and sharing a lot of people with their links and instead share them on the screen at the same time? What if I gather us, we have a conversation about X, Y, and Z? Just like Bill Maher did, it really doesn't matter what the conversation's about. And let's just have a really fun conversation with that eclectic group. A, because it's fun. B, it's interesting. But C, my real reason, because the people watching are going to suddenly start following these different people and suddenly their news feed will change. So I tried that, and my first episode was a really big hit. That was about people using comedy to try to battle anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. And so that first episode did exactly what I wanted. It was a bunch of people like what I see on the screen right now. I had my people on the left, I had my people on the right. Everybody was pro-Israel. We had a great conversation, and people said, "When's your next one?" And ever since then, once a month, because it's a big endeavor, I create an episode with different themes, different topics, different gatherings. Then I had an episode with Palestinians for Israel, and those are the people that all of you probably see and follow. That would be the only episode I've ever done where I wouldn't say they're all pro-Israel people. They're not, but they all are very, 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 very anti-Hamas, which is very brave of them, and they are very pro making peace with Israel. And so I made that episode, which was awesome. And I felt terrible for them because I saw in my own feed they were getting so much shit from both camps on my own feed. I'm able to have conversations with people, Jewish, non-Jewish, gay, straight, black, white, cis, trans. I don't give a shit. None of that matters to me. I just want people who are pro-Jewish and pro-Israel and pro-dialogue, and I want to make sure at least a couple are left and at least a couple of people are right. And then I tell people, I don't care what we talk about. I want to talk about everything that to me is a fun or important topic. I'm putting on my nursing hat, I'm putting on my Zionist hat. Here's my biggest flaw, my fatal flaw is that it's really good what I'm doing. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't really good, but people don't know who I am. YouTube and X and even Threads and Blue Sky. Just go on all of these if you're on there, follow, like, because here's what you need to understand. By you watching, it will affect your algorithm. But by you watching, it will not change anyone else's algorithm. So the main thing that I would say to you is if you want to make a difference, every time these things come out, like, comment, and share, because what you're going to be doing is you tell Instagram, this is worth watching. I am interacting with this product. Every reel that's up there is a product for Instagram that's designed to keep you from switching from Instagram to back to your work or to X. If you show Instagram or if you show X or if you show Facebook, it doesn't matter, LinkedIn, on any of these, and I post everywhere, if you show it, hey, not only did I just look at this, but I communicated with it. I wrote on it, that was interesting. Instagram registers that it's not being ignored. So it will say, oh, maybe we shouldn't bury this in our content now. If what really wins the war of tug of war is that things are being interacted with so that the algorithms of the program, Instagram does not care about our message. They just care that we stay on.